V. Brown from Chester, PA. Last year, I really was frustrated with the fan reaction to Jey Uso's rise, especially the constant talk about him being just a mid-carder, that his brother was better and that he didn't belong in the main event. The same thing happened the year before with Cody Rhodes when people were saying that he shouldn't be world champion and that he was still a mid-card guy. Who the hell was saying that? I've always argued that in WWE, if you're a draw, selling merch and getting real reactions from the fans, you should be pushed. Whether you're Seth Rollins in the ring or even someone like Omos, crowd response should matter. But it seems like a lot of wrestling fans believe that if you were never world champion in WWE, you're permanently labeled a jobber or a mid-carder, no matter how successful you became or become elsewhere. That label sticks forever. What truly makes someone a main event star? You've said before that you always saw Bryan Danielson as a star, and I'll be honest, I didn't fully see him that way until his AEW run showed just how much of an all-time great he really is. That changed my perspective completely. So in your view, what separates a true main event player from someone fans refuse to let escape that mid-card label? I think it's not just your ability to do any one thing. You need to be able to do it all. You need to be a five-tool player, as they say in baseball. You can't just be a great wrestler. It's not enough. Like, there are hundreds of great wrestlers. Very few of them will ever be a world champion. Right? Even more so in the old days where they didn't have a gazillion titles. Like, you had one world champion in each territory. You had one world champion in each promotion. None of this two-belt bullshit. It was very different back then. Just being a great wrestler is not enough. You need to be able to work. You need to be able to talk. You need to be able to communicate with the audience, to connect with them in some way. You need to be able to sell tickets. You need to be able to handle all the other responsibilities that come with being a main event player, right? And you need to do it consistently. How many guys over the years, let me ask you this. How many guys over the years have been given the chance to be champion or to be in the main event, and then they fell right back down to the mid-card? Now, sometimes politics might be involved. It might not be their fault, right? Because for the longest time, like with Vince, your career was at the whims of one man. And if that one man didn't like you, that's it. You're done. But like, I'll use Rikishi as an example because you mentioned Jey Uso, and I just talked about Rikishi last week. I was talking about the comments he made about WWE ticket prices. Rikishi has been around forever, right? He was a good talent. In the Attitude Era, he got over by dancing and shaking his ass, okay, and wearing a thong on TV. That's how he got over. And in the Attitude Era, they tried to push him as a top guy. It didn't work. Like, within a few months, he was right back to where he was. In a company that had Stone Cold and The Rock and Kurt Angle and The Undertaker, all those guys, Rikishi didn't fit. Not as a top guy. Jack Swagger, he's another one. They tried to push him as a world champion. It didn't work. Jinder Mahal, I mean, there's tons of examples. We'd be here forever. Jey Uso sells a lot of merch, and his entrance is very popular. People love to yeet, okay? But then the bell rings, and I'm sorry, he's not a main event guy. He had this great story that they told of a guy who was being told constantly, you can't be a world champion. You can't be a world champion, right? The stuff with him and Roman in those early days of the Bloodline, that was fantastic. He had his story arc. But he was never going to stick as a consistent headliner because there's just certain intangibles that he doesn't have that other guys do. It's the ability to go out there and deliver something above and beyond what anybody else on the show is doing, night in and night out. That's not Jey Uso. He has his role on the show, but there's only a finite number of spots at the top. It's very hard to get there and to stay there. If they saw numbers that led them to believe that Jey Uso should stay in the main event, he would still be in the main event. Merch numbers are not enough. Merch numbers are just a part of it. Like, you could still sell a shitload of merch from the middle of the card. But you need more than that. It's all of those things. It's not just any one attribute. But it's a lot harder to stay there. Like, you can get there, but it's a lot harder to stay there. You have to have certain qualities that, you know, the company looks at you and goes, okay, this is where we see him now. This is where he or she, right? This is where we see them. Not everybody is going to fit that criteria. It's a very small group, like a very elite group of people at the very top. Joseph from Silsbee, Texas. Have there ever been any transitional champions in history that you wish should have been champion longer than they were? For me, the first two reigns I think of are Edge's first title reign and Batista's reign in 2010. Well, I mean, first of all, neither of those were transitional title runs. With Edge's first world title, he won it off John Cena, and he lost it back to John Cena. So for it to be a transitional reign, he would have to lose it to someone different, right? Hence the word transition. You're the bridge between two people. You are transitioning the title from one person to another. So it's the same thing with Batista in 2010. He beat John Cena for the belt, and then he lost it back to John Cena. But I agree, Hollywood Dave should have had a longer run with it. Same for Edge. Like the ratings were reflecting that people were excited to see someone new. They were excited to see Edge and Lita and have Edge with the championship, and they put the belt back on Cena anyway. And I know that really upset Edge. But like same thing with The Undertaker in 91. Like it wouldn't count as him being a transitional champion because he won it off of Hulk Hogan and then he lost it right back to Hulk Hogan like a week later. One of them for me, one of the, to your point, one of them would be Bob Backlund in 94 when he won the belt from Brett. Like once he started doing the crazy Bob stuff, I wasn't a fan of his matches. I thought his matches actually sucked. Honestly, I thought they were very boring. Crazy Bob, though, was a great gimmick. And I thought he deserved more than just 3 days with the championship before he lost it to Diesel. So that would be one example. Bray Wyatt in 2017, he should have held that title longer than he did. Ricky Steamboat with the Intercontinental title, he won it off of Randy Savage. He lost it to the Honky Tonk Man. He only had it for 3 months. That was far too short. Like, the story has always been he went to Vince. His wife was about to give birth. He wanted some time off to be with her and to be with his son. I never got the impression he was asking for like 6 months or a year or anything like that, but he just wanted off for the birth of his son. I don't see why they had to take the belt off of him, but that's just how things were back then, right? And I guess at that time, if they were running house shows with like an A crew, a B crew, a C crew, I mean, they could be running 3 or 4 different towns any given night. They were, headlining some of those shows with IC title matches. So I guess Vince just felt, well, if you're not fully committed to this, pal, I got to take the strap off you. So anyway, it went from Savage to Steamboat and then from Steamboat to the Honky Tonk Man. But one example of a good transitional champion is The Rock. The Rock won the undisputed title in 2002 in a great triple threat match against Kurt Angle and The Undertaker. Undertaker was the champion. So technically he beat The Undertaker to win the title. And then a month later at SummerSlam, he dropped the belt to Brock Lesnar. And it was a much bigger deal for Brock to beat The Rock than it would have been for him to beat The Undertaker. That's an example of what I see as a positive transitional reign. Steve from Virginia, buy or sell on who had the better matches, Steve Austin as a technical wrestler or Steve Austin as a brawler? He was basically a brawler all throughout his WWE run, even in 96 before he got hurt. I mean, seriously, go think back to those Steve Austin matches in 1996, early 97. He was working more of a brawling style. So I'm going to buy on Austin the brawler. The matches with Bret Hart, the Final Four match at In Your House, the 10-man tag at Canadian Stampede, the matches with The Rock, 3 Stages of Hell with Triple H in 01, Over the Edge with Dude Love. Like these matches, Kurt Angle, the matches with Kurt Angle, all of those matches, those were his greatest matches. Those all came when he was a brawler. And actually, most of the matches I just mentioned actually came after the neck injury. So I got to buy on the brawler.